All right, this one's gonna be a little more off the cuff. Um, Welcome to surviving the AI apocalypse. I'm gonna take a little more dramatic or like a writer's approach towards some of these topics. This will be kind of like not an evolution, but an adaptation in more free flow. I remember seeing something recently where kind of connecting the dots mentally or like logically, or is a more I don't recall if it was effective, but it's more like um, there's more brain activity for comparatively to utilizing these tools and programs, AI, LLMs, whatever you want to call them. I know there's Claudebot, but I have no clue what that is. I might take a look at it, but I mean, not really as relevant to my side of things, where I could at least personal use. It's like ChatGPT for kind of I wouldn't say journaling. I don't like journaling. I'm more analog. It's just something that always preferred anyway. Like you have to write it by hand. You have to do it by hand. This is kind of why I fell out of love with accounting, where at least in my experience, something that you learn physically um, through experience and then it converts to digital is just a complete thing I couldn't like adapt with. So with that, you know, I think part of the thought process with the AI apocalypse, whatever, a lot of Zoomers or Gen Zers, maybe millennials, communists, and so on, they all seem to think that AI is going to eliminate jobs. What is what is that term? The universal income, UBI or whatever. I think that'll eventually be like an eventuality, but it's kind of like this Overton window, where at what point does this become a reality where you know corporate entities, corporate interests, whatever you want to call it, entrepreneurs and so on would rather use machines, AI systems, whatever, computers, compared to their own populace, American employees or potential, like the employment pool of Americans, right? And there's certain little like items that don't quite make sense with that. So just leaning forward into what I want to discuss today, what I want to kind of have some dialogue is, what industries survive, and a part of me naturally is like, well, coming from studying finance, whatever, it's kind of not my life passion, but just the thing that runs the machine, right? Money's kind of irrelevant. It's this thing that it's a tool, and just like any tool, just like these machines, these systems, whatever, programs. They can be used properly and they can be abused, and obviously you don't want them to be abused, but it's a naive to not accept the reality that systems will be abused by those that are just trying to lean into it, and because of, let's say, the regulations not going to be there for years, or it's edge tech, so why the hell not? It really depends, and saying that, it's all gears, but no one really takes, or at least no one that is like paranoid. It's like the nuclear missile crisis in the 50s, I would assume. I didn't live through it. That was way before my time. But like anecdotally, I love anecdotes because it's more like kind of philosophical, or kind of get to think about it, rather than here's all this data that could be manipulated, could be utilized, could be used, could be like synthetic. There's ways to manipulate information that I don't find appropriate within the space of conversation, dialogue, forecasting, and there's this weird level of creativity or artistry when it comes to like, well, here's my vision, here's why. And this is something that never really sat well with me within like this weird structured kind of fit this in a box attitude when it came to a couple of my English courses, or not lit, but it didn't structurally work for me. Or like I understand the process, but as someone a little more creative or a little more abstract in ideas and concepts and preference, I'd rather engage with stuff in a more philosophical or like value sense than in character than, you know, oh, here's this data that I kind of just cherry picked, rather than like real life examples, experience, and so forth, where, you know, something, you know, reality is kind of more intuitive or more sensible, like you know it in your soul, which will be a little esoteric to some, but you know, I think that's part of the plight. And now that I've rambled, this preamble, whatever, we have building blocks. Healthcare is not getting automated. There's no way. Certain portions I would not be surprised that get automated. You know, like what robots doing brain surgery. I remember a thing back when I was in high school, like 2016 or something. The robot doing surgery on a grape and just removing the what do you call it? Maybe it was a doctor doing this with the robot, but you know, the little intensive care, you know, the stuff that's hyper specialized, where, you know, I think there's going to be industries or portions of industries that will not get automated away, or that will be, but you know, what is safe, I think, is the challenge. And so jumping back a little, you know, finance, I think commercial banking, like general lending, credit, will still exist. I think you could probably automate the offerings of all these products. We had the whole innovation of the last, since like the 80s or so, where we had, you know, you'd have to call up, at least the story is like, you know, you'd have to call up your broker, they'd book in the trade, they'd charge their commissions, you know, and then over around 2000, right around the financial crisis or right before it, right after it, then we start going to discount brokerages or zero fee to buy stock, which is ironic because now you still have to do it with options unless you're doing a certain product or a terminal or something. It's very interesting, the technological process, progress, and you know, it's very interesting because how are these industries going to adapt, mold, change? Are there going to be 20-something-year-olds with access to capital coming and trying to renovate and do creative destruction in order to get captured, or in order to, you know, revitalize a certain industry or like segment within finance? So let's just say insurance, for example, would be the easiest target, especially coming from like having a couple of risk management insurance courses and like the whole risk management side. So let's say my argument is more so I was fascinated with the investment risk management stuff, but there's not really a way to carve that out straight out of college, I think, outside of starting your own outfit. Now, however tiny that is, however, you know, that plays out, it's a whole different story, but there's ways to go about it. So like InsurTech, right? Like I believe it would make sense where, you know, you structure yourself in a manner that you don't have to work within, or you have to work within the confines of, you know, regulatory, what would you say, like what's established regulatorily, and work within those confines, but also explore new avenues. So like, I know there's certain arguments that you can make, and that certain stuff should be sat on the side as collateral, right? You have the two, like, it's not a washing machine, but I mean, like, in an argument of like liquidity, you know, you have all these pools, there's this, there's that, this has to be here, and this has to essentially be collateral for all the stuff that we pay out. I forget the terminology. And, you know, you're collecting premiums over here, you're making investment income somehow, investing in startups, investing in whatever. You have your private equity arm, or what is it, like not private equity, private. You have all these specializations. You have all these things going on, right? And there's ways to go about it, and it's just kind of interesting where, you know, like couldn't an InsurTech kind of be like syndicated, where it's like, all right, all the little side operations are their own little outfits and so on and so forth. So let's say I'm I don't want to say life insurance. There's a lot of fraud. It's kind of weird. But it's like life insurance could be completely streamlined, completely updated. Easiest thing for me to argue is Social Security, where I think this thing should not be 100% in bonds. It should be like 2% in the S&P, 10% whatever. There has to be some weird level or some sustainable level of we can have enough money that Social Security drawers can take on capital or get paid, but there should be enough money in there. There is enough money, without a doubt. It doesn't make sense, right? So this ambitious attitude doesn't get incentivized, or it does, but it's kind of strange. But with AI, you'll see these innovations in certain industries, but I think within finance, lending, credit, the relationship side of things, wealth management. I don't know as much about financial advisory. I think that could get automated away, even as someone in that kind of not in that space directly, but when trying to get recruited into the industry, and just financial advisory gives off a very, very stinky taste, and it just tastes spoiled when you're trying to get into the industry. But wealth management and the other portions of it, right? Investment banking should probably be streamlined. Why in the hell are people working like slaves for top dollar while working 100? It's like standard 100+ hour work weeks. That's insane to me. Should be. I don't understand this American Protestant kind of attitude. Work. If you're not working, you're not doing anything productive. It's non-aristocratic, but that'll be a different discussion. So I've rambled on enough about finance, but the relationship side, the financial advisory, wealth management, maybe more so on the wealth management, like the specialized advisory stuff. I don't know so much about insurance. I think that could probably get automated away. Hey, here's your company or client goes to the website, plugs in all their data, spits out an offer. Could actuaries get automated away? Probably. There's so much math that goes in that just kind of this could probably get systematized. And moving on, healthcare is not going away. There's no way. Everyone needs medicine. People are dying all the time. To put it, it's not a good way. Just bluntly, oil and gas. We still need to pump energy. We need to drill no matter what. We need to collect coal. We need to mine coal. We need to burn coal. We need to create energy. These things are going to create more energy demand. It's it kind of goes in line with it, no matter how you look at it. Preferably nuclear. That was always my view for a while. So that side effect is still there, still living. It's just I don't know how the hell you make a good amount of capital from it's like a, what do you call it, low return on investment, high it's not high risk, but low return on investment and capital intensive. There you go, that's the term I was looking for. And then just in general, industrials and infrastructure, right? We're still going to need all the infrastructure. If anything, we're going to invest more into infrastructure. I think this has been very interesting, especially from liberals and conservatives, where there's this demand for infrastructure, yet you don't see any benefit of that. Why are the roads not getting paved more? Why are certain corporate entities owning the highways yet not paving, the whole area around it? There's a certain level where I'm not this European stakeholder attitude. However, I do think that if you're causing a problem within a community, you should be kind of the entity covering everything, right? Instead of the government or the people within that, region. Covering this by being subsidized by taxpayer dollars. That's ridiculous and that's gross. So aside from that, industrial is defense, tech, defense, whatever. It's kind of like human nature. We're always going to be at war with each other, no matter how we look at it. But it's kind of ironic when recently, I think, just recently, like within the last few days or weeks, we found like $1.5 trillion in the lithium deposits somewhere. I want to say in the northeast, or I mean, excuse me, northwest or midwest. Strange. Anytime. Anyway, that's all I got. I will be uploading this, and you'll catch me in the next one. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I guess I'll update y'all next time. Bye.